morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the jungle. For Marketing Reigns King, I am your host, Hamilton Winters, and I'm so excited to be joined by my friend, Great Moore of the Culmen Group. Great, how you doing this morning?
Good, thanks for having me on, Hamilton.
Absolutely. Sorry to get you out in this nasty weather.
Oh, it's a beautiful rainy day.
But tried to sleep in this morning. I couldn't.
No, there's no chance this morning.
Yeah, but we got our coffee, which is good, and we're here to discuss what you do. Why don't we start with a little bit of background, who you are, and how you got into doing what you do with the Culmen Group.
So thanks, Hamilton. So Great Moore with the Culmen Group, managing partner. Effectively, we work with small and medium-sized companies, helping them with their employee benefits. So our firm is one of 17 agencies located across Georgia. We're affiliated with Partners Benefit Group out of Tifton, Georgia. And combined with our agencies, we put about $100 million in premium into the marketplace. So really what that means is we bring very world-class service to small and medium-sized businesses for their employees.
That's awesome. How long have you been doing this with you're a managing partner, correct?
That's right.
Awesome. And how long has this been going on?
So we started the firm about a year ago.
Okay.
With another partner of mine, Greg Moore. So not to be any confusion, we're not related. It was like I couldn't find a partner that had any
funds were tight. They could only afford one last name.
We could. So it was we do everything initials. So it was like GM.
GM, I love it.
But so there's been a huge consolidation in the marketplace with employee benefits brokers. So for folks that don't know, effectively we represent all of the insurance carriers, United, Blue Cross, Aetna, and many more, and we represent them to small and middle markets. So over the last 10 years, there's been a tremendous amount of consolidation with small local brokers. And what that's done is it's kind of left a huge gap for small and medium-sized businesses to have adequate representation. Mm-hmm. And what I mean by that is most of these larger broker houses, in an effort to conserve money, in an effort to streamline a lot of their processes, they've opened up service centers. And those service centers are really great for the large brokers, mm-hmm. and for them to consolidate their customer service team. But what you lose from a small business, medium-sized business standpoint is that face-to-face with your broker, that mm-hmm. relationship. Mm-hmm. And because of the economies of scales, it's just very difficult through the consolidation to have somebody actually come out and meet with your employees, explain all of the benefits, and really help a company understand how they can maximize their benefits, mm-hmm. To ensure they're getting a true return on their investment. So our take on all of it is we are very, very employee-centric. We believe that the best companies will recruit and retain top talent. And one of the ways to do that is around the total benefits package, mm-hmm. the compensation package. And we really want to partner with those companies that truly believe their best asset are their employees.
Yeah, that's awesome. It seems like you hone in on the value of the small business
mm-hmm.
with the personal touch.
That's it.
With providing the benefits of a larger company.
That's it. So, because of our size, again, it's $100 million in premium. Yeah, it certainly makes us one of the top brokers mm-hmm. in the Georgia market.
Yeah.
And what that provides to our clients is not only do they get the personal touch of us, mm-hmm. they're also going to get concierge service from all of the markets, all of the carriers we put them with. So when we call Blue Cross Blue Shield, we don't call an 800 number, we call Susan in Macon, Georgia.
Yeah.
And we get her to help us with whatever the claims are, and then that's mm-hmm. a direct line to our clients. Yeah. So it's really a win for everybody.
That's fantastic. And from what I understand, you served in the military.
That's right, I did.
That's awesome. What branch?
So I was in the Army for 9 years.
Well, thank you for your service.
And mornings like this always remind me of of how worse it can be. So when I'm driving down in my car with a little heat on and the little radio, I'm like, it's not that bad. I'm not out in the weather.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But yeah, that's always a benefit. Is I can remember that it can be a lot worse.
What I guess translated from that experience to what you're doing now? Because I'm sure that there is some overlap.
I think there is. I think one of the biggest things is certainly in the military. I think all branches truly believe this, and it's at the heart of the military, is that it's really about the troops. So in the Army, we call the troops soldiers.
Yep.
And you really got to take care of the soldiers, right?
Mm-hmm.
You really, because those are the folks that are on the ground, they're in the air, they're on the boats, they're doing the job.
Mm-hmm.
There's only so many chiefs, right?
Yeah.
And everybody else is doing the job. So if you don't take care of your soldiers, you're not going to be able to accomplish your mission. And I think that's what's fundamental in the way that we try to attract clients, but it's also it's kind of our flavor, if you will, for when we're talking with clients, is, let's not just so much has changed in corporate America, right? We've seen pensions go away. We've seen 401ks either go away or not be fully funded. We've seen, with the Affordable Care Act, we've seen folks just cutting health care. And I get it. Oftentimes are very difficult. But then you look at Wall Street and you see all this revenue that's dropping down, all these profits that's dropping down to the bottom line of companies, right? So you kind of go, what's going on, right? Are we forgetting the troops? Are we not taking care of the soldier? And that's kind of the message that we want to bring to the marketplace, but it's also the value we want to bring, is to remind organizations and leaders that, look, your most valuable asset, right, is your employees. We hear things, the buzzwords now are things like client experience.
Okay.
And I think that's important, but it's only after employee experience, right?
Yep.
If we don't take care of our employees, we can never get to the client experience. And I don't think that it's forgotten. I think that we've taken it for granted, and it's kind of time to refocus on the employees.
Yeah. The word that reverberates in my mind, just from everything that you've said, is morale. That's that morale of the troops, because when you lose the morale of the troops, there's a likelihood that the mission's not going to go as well as you intended for it to, and you start taking the rations away. You do. Half as many MREs. It's that kind of stuff. You expect more, and you give less.
That's right.
Do you think that's a cultural shift? Does that seem to be? Are you discouraged by that, or are you encouraged by the opportunities that are now available for companies like yours?
Well, in a snapshot, I'm discouraged because I think we've lost our way as leadership, and I think we've lost our way as maybe a culture. But I'm certainly encouraged because I think the tides are changing, and I think the new generation, whatever that generation is, but the new workforce, if you will, they are demanding that this changes, and they're doing that through individual. They're demanding autonomy, right? So they're saying, because of technology. I'm not going to drive an hour both ways to work 5 days a week. Because of technology, if you want to reach me at 8 o'clock in the evening, that's fine. But you're going to do it from the comfort of where I'm going to be.
On my terms.
On my terms. So I think that it's almost, if you think way back to, to the turn of the 20th century, workers were at a very significant disadvantage. We had unhealthy workplaces. We had lower wages. So what happened then is unions started to form. And a good reason for the unions was to empower the workers. So the unions, there's power in numbers. So they started to form to demand that the folks that offered the jobs would provide good wages, and safe workplaces. Okay, well, we don't really have those numbers anymore, but what we have is technology. So that's what I'm really, really optimistic about, is that the technology is how we can leverage to kind of put the employee back into the center of the conversation.
Yeah. We were talking earlier about how much has changed just in the short period of time between you graduating college and now. And that was not that long ago.
I know. So I graduated University of North Georgia in 2000. And we were talking, I didn't even have a computer. And that wasn't uncommon. There was a small percentage of folks that had a computer in their dorm room. Very, very few folks that had laptops. And it's amazing how it's completely changed in 20 years. Well, if you think 20 years ago, the internet was just in its infancy. I mean, it was just, you had the old dial-up, right? So
I can hear the sound.
you wouldn't even
Right now, it's just
like, you just wouldn't, like, that wasn't your first place to go for information.
No.
At that time. And you didn't get weather alerts on your phone as you're driving down this morning.
Yeah.
So things have completely shifted, and I think that technology is allowing employees to demand, if they're going to partner with a company or they're going to partner with an organization, then it's going to be somewhat unlevel playing field.
Yeah. Do you feel as though this generational shift going on in the workplace of what some people would refer to as a lack of loyalty, this bouncing around from company to company? The average millennial spends 2 years or less in each job, and they'll have 5 different careers in a lifetime. I'm just pulling those stats. And
Yeah.
it sounds relatively accurate. Do you think that has something to do with what you're seeing in the demanding of those types of benefits? Or it seems like employees now view their employer as almost a partner rather than an employee-employer relationship. Is that, am I totally off basis there?
No, I think we're seeing a lot of that, and I think there's a couple reasons for that. One is when, again, it's if we truly look at our employee, our partner, right? And I love the word partner rather than, because employees, it certainly sounds like a servant relationship. And I love servant leadership and these kind of things, but partnership just sounds, it kind of puts us both on the same playing field. It's not that I hold all the money, I hold all the knowledge, you're going to be my apprentice, and in 15, 20 years, you're gonna get promoted into my job. That's not the way, because because in the information age, the employee no longer has to wait for the employer to share that information with them, right?
Your YouTube video or
it's like,
article away from.
So there's no secrets really, So if you go and if you go to a print shop and you're an apprentice at the print shop, a couple of YouTube videos and you're an expert. Now you still need some training and some time on the job, but I think because it's multifaceted when we take on a partner, right? One, we want the partner to grow with us, and we want to grow with the partner. So I think the reason we see some jumping around is because we don't say, okay, we're going to chart out a plan that's mutually beneficial. And that means that I'm going to help you grow, you're going to help me grow. And it's fine if we get 2 years down the road and you've saturated all the knowledge that I have and you're no longer growing, then I want to help you get to an organization that's going to continue to allow you to grow as an individual. Those aren't first interview conversations.
No. But it's definitely a define the relationship conversation.
So but that's it. That's our relationship is, and we never talk about, I want you to be here as long as it makes sense for you. And if it doesn't, I want to have that conversation. But if a better opportunity comes along, I want to have that conversation too. We don't do that. Currently we don't do that. We do a lot of that in hiding, right? So if all of a sudden I go, Great's not really a good boss. and I'm not sure that I can go to him and say, hey, this partnership's not working out. So what I'm going to do is spend the next month looking for another job.
Yeah.
So I'm basically not working here for a month.
Yep.
I'm looking for another job.
Your mind's somewhere else.
And then I'm going to come and say, hey, here's my 2 weeks. I'm out.
Yep.
And that's old school employee-employer relationship.
Yep.
In a partnership, we don't do those things, right? It's as soon as something's not working, we've got to communicate and talk about it.
Yep.
But it's both from the idea of I want you to grow and you want me to grow. And if we can't grow together, then that's okay. Let's talk about it, and let me help you get to where you can grow.
Yep. My dad's always given me the dating advice that regardless of what the outcome is, leave that person better than you found them.
That's it.
And to come into a work relationship, I think more than any other metaphor that gets used in this room, it's the dating analogy. That relationship between servant and the master versus the partner. It's if you have a problem with your significant other and you really care about that person, it's not going to be, hey, I'm going to spend the next month looking for somebody else.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to hand you my 2 weeks. That's never going to work.
It doesn't work. Or you've got way bigger issues.
Exactly.
If that's the way you approach.
And I guarantee you that she doesn't want to hear you come in the office and say, I've got other options.
That's right. I got other options.
So, approach it in a similar way.
Yeah.
Shifting towards the future. What do you see in your industry going forward that's either going to change or something that's going to magnify? Your industry better than I ever could.
Yeah.
Let me know and let our viewers know what you're excited about in the future. So
first and foremost, technology, is going to be a huge play in most industries, but certainly the healthcare industry. The healthcare industry operates like no other industry that we're familiar with today. So a quick example is if you go buy a car and you go to the car lot, it would be very foreign for you to go, look, I would like this truck, 4 doors and black. That's kind of what I'm looking for. And they would say, okay, we've got one for you. We will send it to your house. And after about 60 days of you owning it and driving it, it's yours. And then we're going to tell you how much it cost. That's completely foreign, right? So we just got a puppy over Christmas, and sweet black lab.
Yep.
And our oldest son, and I'll full circle here. Our oldest son was down on the floor playing with the puppy, and the puppy nipped his ear. So pretty good abrasion. So only because it was cosmetic, I was like, well, maybe we should go get it looked at. So we went to Children's in Forsyth, and they said, yeah, it's probably a little more cosmetic than we would like to do. We want to send you down to Children's of Atlanta. So we came down to Atlanta, and they had a plastic surgeon that's on call. So she came in and put 8 or 10 stitches in it and did a really, really nice job. And then so he comes home, he's completely healed, and we get a bill in the mail. How foreign is that? So the whole time we went to 2 hospitals, had 2 physicians, and then a plastic surgeon take care of him, and we had no idea what we were going to pay. Now, fortunately, we've got great health care.
Of course. So
we felt comfortable in that. But that's going to completely change. We have to, in order for health care to change, we've got to have full price transparency, and we got to be able to shop coverages, or not coverages, but pricing, right? Maybe not for emergency in the situation with our son, but certainly if it's a planned procedure, we should be able to shop. And I think technology is going to allow us to do that. And in turn, that's going to open the free market and drive down cost for all. But that's what I'm most excited about is how we can leverage technology to drive out a lot of the cost that are associated with healthcare and really put it on the hospitals to compete. Because right now they don't compete. In a lot of ways, they don't compete.
Yeah, that's amazing. There's a very famous politician. I won't say her name, but she's in the news lately. She had a quote I guess it was about 4 or 5 years ago, maybe even longer than that said, you got to pass the bill to find out what's in it.
Mm-hmm.
And that was actually a bill that very strongly affects what you do.
That's right.
But it seems like healthcare, from what you just said, it's, hey, we'll send you the bill. You got to get the surgery done to find out how much it costs.
That's
it's
right.
Like, that's
it's yeah.
in what world is that okay?
It's
but it's
well, and it's just it's old.
Yeah.
It's not even old technology. It's just old paradigm.
In the past world, it was okay.
That's right.
Because that was the normal.
And there's lots of dynamics that go into it, from Medicare to health insurance.
Yep.
But we're also going to have a huge segment. We had Dr. Bush on the show last week. So Dr. Bush in Alpharetta runs a men's center.
Yep.
Now that's a private pay, right? Because he's offering procedures that aren't currently approved by healthcare, even though they're in the UK.
Yeah.
It's the way that they diagnose and treat prostate cancer. So we're going to see that come into play as well, because the great thing about private pay, if you can afford it, you shop it.
Yeah.
So you know exactly what you're getting, and you're going to go to the professional that is in line with what you want to pay, and that's gonna leverage the market. So I'm very excited about the future of healthcare.
Yeah.
I think that another thing that there's so many studies about how stress in the workplace contributes to health.
Yeah.
And it's like stress is really the new smoking. So, and there's lots of physical reasons because of this.
Yeah.
It's not just woo woo. I mean, there's things that happen to our body when we are under stress, and our bodies are not used to being under stress 24/7, right? So if we can lower the cortisol levels in our body, then it will help us become healthier. Okay, so that's kind of the onus, in my opinion, in that partnership we were talking about earlier, that employer-employee relationship.
Yep.
Is how are we managing stress? And back in the 20th century, when we first started talking, we started looking at things as coal miners, right? We started looking at, because we could see that, okay, they're getting black lung.
Yeah.
They're getting significant physical injuries because of what's going on in the workplace,
Yep.
right? So then we had things called workman's comp that would help provide a benefit to these folks that were injured on the job.
Yep.
Okay? So we see the same thing with asbestos. We see those commercials. So it's going to be interesting that I believe that an employer, to a degree, is going to be responsible for that partnership.
Yep.
Of stress and how it affects the employee's health.
That's interesting.
And that's interesting. I
That
mean,
is
that's cutting
interesting.
edge, but I'm telling you, there's.
Wow.
I mean, think about it.
Yeah.
It's
a whole
we
different
can't
can.
measure that yet, right?
Yeah.
But if we can get to the point where we can truly measure cortisone levels, and we can measure, so in the military, they do a complete physical before you come in the military. And when you exit the military, they give you a complete physical, and they measure the two.
baseline.
So you got your baseline, and mainly it's hearing, vision, all of these other symptoms.
Yeah.
But they want to make sure that your time in the military did not negatively impact you
Yep.
versus someone that didn't go in the military. So if we get to the point where it's, you sign up for a very stressful job,
Yeah.
your cortisone levels were here. Now they're
It's like
here.
the NFL,
Yeah.
the CTE stuff.
That's right. So we didn't do that 30 years ago with the
No.
NFL, but now they're measuring those things. So
Yeah.
I think we're going to have huge biometrics in healthcare,
Yeah.
and they're going to give us monitors. They're going to give us readings, and we're going to be able to say, maybe this commute is really causing more health issues
Yeah.
than not.
Which is amazing. I mean, it's not far away.
It's not far away.
This thing's already telling you your heartbeat.
That's it.
And is communicating with companies on multiple different data
That's right.
points that are able to be tracked.
Yeah. So when we collectively, when we take care of the pricing and the the understanding of pricing from the healthcare, right? That's going to be one point. But then the next point is when we individually can take care of ourselves.
Yep.
Because, I mean, all the data is pointing to stress causing cancer. Stress, it's all of these things
Significant.
that previously we weren't aware of. So what we do now, for the most part, is we basically live for 60 years, and then all of a sudden we have all of these symptoms based on the life. And it's nothing now. If we said, well, he worked in the coal mines for 60 years and now he has black lung, nobody would go, well, that's crazy.
Yeah.
What do you mean? Nobody would say that.
Yeah.
But now it's like, well, he had a 90-minute commute both ways to work. He worked at a high-powered law firm down in Chicago or Atlanta, and he worked 60, 70 hours a week, rarely took vacations, and he's 55 years old with cancer. Yeah. Oh, that's tragic.
Yeah.
Is what we would say. He was so healthy.
What a surprise.
What a surprise. He worked out every day.
Wow.
Right? So I think that's where I'm really excited about technology and healthcare, is those two points.
That's really cool. What came to my mind was Maslow's hierarchy of needs.
Yes.
When we were talking earlier, it's how do you separate your personal from your work environment? You can't. There's always going to be
it's blended now.
It's a Venn diagram.
Well, we were talking today. So 20 years ago, and it's really interesting to think. But most folks didn't have cell phones the way we have them today. Yep. Maybe you had a cell phone, but you hardly got good coverage.
Yep.
It may work at home, but not at work, or work at work, not at home. So you were almost still somewhat unreachable after the workday. And it would be very unusual if you left work at 5 o'clock, came home at 7, and your partner or your boss needed to get in touch with you to follow up on a proposal. Not urgent, just, hey, did you get this done? That would be a very unusual after 5 o'clock conversation. Now we do it through text and email. Right? So it's no big deal. I mean, if I need to get in touch with you, if I were running late this morning and I text you at 6 o'clock and said, hey, I just woke up, it's traffic's horrible, I'm going to be 30 minutes late, and sent you a text, that's not unusual.
No,
right?
Not at all.
But that would have been unusual 20 years ago. So we've effectively kind of thrown away that balance of work. And maybe that's okay, right? Because it does give us some flexibility where if I need to take off a couple hours mid-afternoon, then I can take my computer and my work home and do it in the evening. So it's not all bad.
Yeah.
But we have to, I think we have to acknowledge that it's truly blended, and how do we manage that, and how do we compensate, not monetarily, but what's the give to get that?
Yeah. There's a book, and I might get the title wrong. It was actually a lady that we worked with through one of our clients, and the book, I think, is called How Neighborhoods Make Us Sick.
Okay.
And it talks about the social determinants of health.
Yes.
She actually moved down to Bankhead and lived there for years.
Okay.
And wanted to be an experiment of her own, and used a baseline of what it was like to live in somewhere like Buckhead, moved down to somewhere like Bankhead, and how that affects everything else in your life, and the social determinants of health being those, the neighborhood aspects. You have to worry about particular crime, or you have to worry about the workplace environment. You have to worry about these stresses, and you have it's all in your environment that just weighs on you. I think that's a super interesting point.
It's a great point. So, so our bodies are very used to physical stress. Not that they're used to, but they understand how to deal with it. And psychologically, we understand how to deal with it. Meaning, if we're in kind of a bad neighborhood at night, we understand why maybe my senses are heightened. We understand that I should be stressful here. So, and there's a whole lot of physiological things going on, cortisol, and so we understand that. What we don't understand is, why am I stressful in the office because I've not been sleeping well, and so that's So what we've not correlated the two.
They're related but not understood.
That's right. They're significantly related,
Mm-hmm.
and in many cases, they may be even more harm because there's not an outlet for the mental stress,
Mm-hmm.
right? And it's not over, right? So if you make it through that dark alley in that bad neighborhood, and you get in your car and get 10 minutes down the road, there's that sense of I made it.
Yeah.
So everything starts to go down.
There's no relief.
There's no relief at work.
Yeah.
In many cases.
Yep.
And that's okay.
Yeah.
But at work, we've got to understand, okay, this is our Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to be stressful for this month.
Yep.
Right? But then
We go to Disney World.
we get to go to Disney World. We get to relax the rubber band.
Yep.
Right? Because we're mentally and physically, the Super Bowl can't happen every Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think we've truly grasped that.
Yeah. That's great. We'll wrap up. My dad's a judge in Louisiana, and so here recently he's called or texted me. He's like, "Man, we've never had this many people that need warrants signed. We've never had this many people backed up in the jail. It just wears on him,
Mm-hmm.
and it worries me that he's stressed out. He went and got an angiogram done and got some blood work done, and they were like, "You're in pretty bad shape."
Yeah.
Not that you look any worse than you have, but your blood's not great. You probably don't eat that great. And I tell him all the time, I'm like, Dad, you got to quit stopping at Wendy's just because it's convenient. You know, pack your lunch. Anyway, it didn't take me telling him. I could tell him all day long.
Yeah.
It took somebody that knows,
Mm-hmm.
right? It took the doctor to say, I looked at your vial of blood and it looked like milk more than it did normal blood. You got to chill.
You got to chill.
You got to chill.
Yeah.
But to hear somebody with your background, with the experience in the industry, to see what you've seen, to be able to have the foresight and the vision to see what's coming up, I think is a big deal.
It's a huge deal. And once we can measure it,
Mm-hmm.
I think that's where the technology, the biometric meters, that we're not going to have to. It's going to be. What's going to happen is like your dad, but your generation, the new generation, they're going to have all this feedback.
Mm-hmm.
So they're going to know instantly
The analytics.
They're going to see the scoreboard of health.
Yep.
Right, and they're going to be able to adjust.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, we're just not there, and we think everybody else is handling it.
Yep.
None of us are handling it.
Yep.
We're all overstressed, and it comes down to a mindset of what really matters.
Mm-hmm.
And that can be poetic, and that can be very big picture.
Mm-hmm.
But what really matters is, are we under physical stress?
Yeah.
And if we're not in this country, for the most part,
Mm-hmm.
We've eliminated a lot of physical stress, and we've eliminated a lot of workplace hazards
Mm-hmm.
because of safety and better environments. And now, we need to eliminate that mental and internal stress, because what we didn't know then, but we know now, is both of those have significant health repercussions.
Yep.
And it's so great to have the technology that we can now see that working in a coal mine
Mm-hmm.
for 30 years is just as detrimental as working under a highly stressed environment for 30 years.
Yeah.
And we would have never thought that 30 years ago.
No.
Nobody would have ever thought that. But now we truly know that both of those environments, and maybe the coal mine might be a safer place to work.
Yeah.
Because of the physical activity.
That's a whole different paradigm.
And that's crazy.
It is crazy. But now we know. So fantastic conversation. Thank you
Thanks,
so
Hamilton.
much for joining us. How can they continue the conversation? Listening to this, I want to know more. So how can they get in touch with you?
So theculmengroup.com, and that's Culmen, Culmen group.com, is the best place to get in touch with us. LinkedIn, great more. You can find more about us and our firm, and we host a podcast. So anybody that has any insight, information, or would love to talk about these topics in empowering the employees in today's workforce, reach out. Love to have you on the show.
Yeah, it's a fantastic podcast. Actually, we get to produce it, which is fantastic. So
Yes.
The conversation was great in more ways than one. So
That's it.
I appreciate you being here. For all of our listeners and viewers, we appreciate you being here in the jungle with us today with managing partner of the Culmen Group, Great Moore. I hope you have a fantastic day. Try to stay dry out there. We'll check with you later. Have a good one. Bye-bye.